All right, and welcome back to another episode of HazMat 101 Consultant Spotlight. I'm your host, Bob Kashignato, and today I have my great friend Alex Perez from Miami Dade Fire HazMat. Alex, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Drinking rum, smoking cigars, and losing golf balls. So I'm living the dream.
The meaning of life.
That is. So you had an interesting run. Um, we talked a little bit about it on the Hazmat Guys Roundtable show that we do. Found out a couple interesting things that a lot of us had forgotten about hydrogen fluoride, which we'll talk about in a second. But kind of give us like a layout of what happened and an overview, and then we'll jump into the pictures.
Okay, so one afternoon we got a run for a leak at a warehouse. The driver or the transporter of the vessels was very adamant that it was a poison. He was very helpful in keeping our initial units away. He told dispatch that he was carrying hydrogen fluoride, which obviously gave us a very good heads up as to not walking into a very bad situation.
Oh yeah.
When our initial crews arrived, they set up perimeter and denied access and closed off the area, evacuated everyone that they could evacuate. There was ambulatory, um, and the hazmat units arrived. And then we took command of the scene.
That's awesome. It's one of the things we were just talking about in our class that we were doing locally was that if a contractor calls and says something, it's probably for sure.
It's usually the real deal.
Because they've spent some time trying to stop it or fix it or whatever. So, all right, well let's.
So the uniqueness of that call was he opened up the back of the truck, got a good whiff of it, just thought it was like a chemical smell that was associated with the product, didn't think they had leaked
Oh,
in his truck, and told the guys, hey, get this off of my truck, unload it, you're good to go. Undid the straps, basically did one of these
the level
t-shirt
the level
t-shirt mask.
XYZ respiratory protection.
Yes, exactly. And the guys that unloaded the product, it was 60 vessels of HF. When they did the count inside the warehouse, they noticed the damage in one of the caps. Then they reported it to the driver, which reported it to the company. And then that's when the wheels started moving
Right.
as far as we have an emergency.
And not to give the location of where it came from or where it was going to, but this vehicle, as I understand it, came from several states. Like it was on the road for a little bit, right?
Yes, it was on the road for possibly 4 or 5 days.
Wow. Wow. All right. Well, let's get right into the picks, and then you can tell us well step by step what happened in your readings and so on. But first, you guys just got this.
Yes, that is Big Bertha. He's a 45-foot hazmat truck with a full conference room in the middle. You see that blanks area on the side? That's a full slide out.
Nice.
Can fit up to 12 chiefs at one time. And yeah, she's a beauty. She's hard to drive in tight complexes, but
oh, I bet.
a wonderful machine.
And there's just two guys on there, right?
No, we have three.
Three. Okay.
One lieutenant, hazmat, and 2 hazmat specialists.
Okay. Gotcha. And just so everybody knows, we're going to be doing a more in-depth spotlight on Miami Dade's new hazmat rig in the future. So stay tuned for that. So let's get into the run. So before we get too far, obviously we've got a health hazard. Not really so much flammability, and we've got a reactivity issue. But what was also interesting when we started talking about this was that if you looked at, depending where you looked it up, three different resources, we had three different vapor density numbers. We had some that it was heavier, some that it was lighter. So it re-emphasizes the fact of going and getting your research. You know, apps are great, but books are fantastic. Books don't, the battery doesn't die on you. And also, you know, looking at these different things, you know, you want to go with the worst numbers. If you get such a problem like this, it's best to just go with the worst case scenario, and then you just go from there. So just wanted to point that out, because when we were doing the other show, people were chiming in and we're like, well, you know what, we're finding it in other places. So here we go with the run. So Alex just described it. This is the warehouse.
Yes.
And it was backed into, I'm assuming, one of those open bays.
One of those open bays, exactly. And then forklifted to the back of the facility, which had an inherent issue because now the vessel that was compromised was surrounded by other bottles.
Gotcha.
And pallets.
And they had other hazardous materials in there, or just HF?
I'm only aware of the HF.
Okay. And from other pictures I saw, social media and whatnot, to the right of the warehouse, if you're looking at this, that's where you had a lot of your command and vehicle set up. Is that right?
Yeah, we established the hot zone to the edge of the parking lot, and then beyond that, the warm zone.
Gotcha.
And the cold zone was outside on the street.
All right. So tell us about your response, the amount of text you got in there. Obviously, here's a picture of that was out there, level A suits. To give us a little the layout of how it started. So
well, this is probably the worst player we've had in a long time. The manufacturer states that they haven't had a leak in 30 years of production.
Wow.
So it was very unique when they were very surprised. Obviously, HF is one of those bad players. You know, when the ideal H is under 300, you know, it stands up, you know, the HazMat hairs on the back of your neck. And when it goes into the teens, then you really are looking at something significant. So, you know, we went and we did research on it, and obviously a toxic poisonous gas. We went with our level A suits, and yeah, those are our guys doing the recon, I think.
So you had a four-person recon team initially?
Yes, because we were having a little bit of radio communication problems, and to keep a line of sight, the officer on that truck, on the initial entry team, decided he wanted two guys in line of sight, just in case something, you know, catastrophic happened.
Oh, sure.
Which is with well understandable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what kind of, I see they've got a cart, what kind of equipment did they take downrange with them initially? Was it just protection equipment, or did they bring some tools with them just in case they could handle it on the initial recon?
Well, I think that inside there's just meters in there for now, we set up a hot zone. We really wanted to know if the vessel was still leaking. So we put a trident, we call it a trident, which is our papers on the end of the longest pike pole we have.
Mm-hmm.
And before they made entry, we slid the pike pole in, and we just poked around a little bit and see if we got any color changes, which we didn't. And then we made entry slowly and see if there was any, and you don't have to carry all the meters. You just look down into the cart and you see if there's any changes on the carts, if you can see it through the shield.
Right.
And basically they went all the way up to the vessel that was compromised, and they literally had to swab it. And there wasn't really a rapid reaction. So I guess everybody in command decided, and research, we all decided that it was probably either evacuated or it had self-corrected by itself.
Now, and we're showing a picture of the leaking vessel there. One of the questions that has come up from a lot of people that we talked to here and there about it was a different style of cap.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So that one cap is different than the other caps. The other ones are like stamped steel.
Uh-huh.
The other one, the one with that hex head on the top, is actually a cast iron or cast hot metal, cap.
Right.
All that fibrous stuff that you see, and obviously I never got to put my hands on it or see it.
Right.
But the way it was described to me was that that's all pot metal from the degradation of the metal that they use in the casting process. So that's basically just all the other dissimilar metals that have melted away.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll tell you later on. We spoke to the manufacturer because the manufacturer came down, and the very next day he flew down. He was very helpful and complimentary of us doing the assistance that we did, and he knows the reportable quantity of every single vessel, every single cylinder that he had. And he said, that cylinder XXY, it's got the number on the side of it. That left my facility weighing 53 pounds. I know that the A kit weighs this much. I know the pallet weighs this much, give or take, a couple percent. When he calculated and he did the addition and subtraction, they thought that it was less than a 5-pound release that created that hole. He was closer to 2 pounds, but taking into account that the pallet might weigh a little bit more, a little bit less, no more than 5 pounds released. And it released through the threads is what he thinks happened. And due to the corrosion, the reactivity of it, we had a lot of moisture in the air that day. He thinks that it's self-corrected and it resealed at the threads.
Okay, so the threads of the valving?
Of the valving.
Okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, there was.
I never thought of that.
There was, and you and I were talking about this run, kind of as it was happening, and one of the things that a good friend of ours, Derek, sent us was in 1977. Chemical Engineering News sent out an article alerting to extended HF storage in carbon steel cylinders.
Yes.
So that they begin to react with iron and so on. So this is kind of something that maybe has been out there since '97, of kind of like an alert, so to speak. But this is, I'm telling you, in 30 years of fire department hazmat, I've never seen a picture like that before.
Absolutely. It's very scary that, the degradation of that cap is that impressive with that amount of product.
So you said you brought in your papers on the end of the hook. What kind of papers did you bring in there?
Oh, we have fluorine paper, we have the KI paper, and we have pH paper.
So
and we only got a faint hit on the fluorine paper. I think it was just residual from what was there. Anhydrous, Anhydrous, it's on the name of the bottle. I was expecting it to be one with the earth as quickly as possible, and evaporate. And we spoke about that you thought that it was probably gone as well. So I think that we just got a residual little hit. I didn't think it was hitting. We spoke to science and command, and everybody tended to agree.
Right.
And so we decided to just secure the bottle for future transport.
Right.
With an A kit from the chlorine kit, if the measurements of the bottle would allow.
Yeah, right there. What you guys did right there.
If you see that picture right there, when we put and we train for the chlorine kit, we usually have 5 or 6 links that lay down when you properly install the level A kit.
Right.
So we're on the last. I mean, we didn't get a lot of tension on there. We probably could have gotten a link drop or 2, but that was at the max limit for that A kit. The manufacturer was very impressed that we did that. He would have preferred a coffin, but our coffin isn't deep enough.
Good
So
point.
that's the reason why we didn't go with a coffin.
Good point. Yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of people that don't, because I know there's talking with some of our cohorts out there, like, well, we just put it in a coffin, but to your point of what you're saying now, it wouldn't have fit. So I wonder how people even know how long their coffins are, and are there different various sizes out there, and where to get those,
Well, the manufacturer is going to be kind enough to send us, for our trouble, we sent them our bottle with our A kit. He deconned it and he sent it back. And when COVID manufacture ramps up again, or when manufacturing of all these specialty items ramps up again, he's going to send us a coffin that fits his bottles as added insurance for us to have.
Well, you hadn't had one of those in a number of years, so hopefully it'll be in.
Hey, hopefully we'll never see another one.
Many more years to come. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
That's crazy.
Just wanted to let people know that. I mean, we kind of thought outside the box, and used the A kit as a hack. It was basically a hack, but it was researched, and we thought it fundamentally would work, and we thought that was our best. Instead of just sitting there and possibly exposing the rest of the warehouse to more of this product, we thought that was the best route of mitigation.
Sure. And now, which gaskets did you use on the A kit?
So we spoke in science. And I heard somebody on the initial talk that you guys had.
Right.
Why wouldn't we use the rubber gasket? And it probably would have worked, but we used a book, and there is nothing that the Chlorine Institute said, hey, you can use this with HF. Right. So we have to do a little bit of HazMat science and of HazMat thinking. And I went through my breakthrough times on my suits and on my gloves, and Viton shows that it's a better protector against HF than butyl rubber. The second thing that we saw was that the HF might stand up better to the rubber Viton seal, because the Viton seal is taught by the Chlorine Institute that it's just a beefier gasket. You can use the rubber seal. It's a misconception that you can use the rubber seal, not the rubber seal, the black one, not on, or the gray seal on chlorine. I apologize. So you can use the gray seal on both, but you can only use the black one on chlorine. It's just a beefier synthetic gasket, and we didn't know when they were going to end up picking up this vessel. So we decided to give ourselves the longest breakthrough time that we could have.
Yeah, play for worst case scenario, absolutely.
Exactly. And obviously you saw the vapor density. We didn't know if it was going to linger around, or when we made that decision, or if it had evaporated. So we decided worst case scenario, let's go for the gray gasket. And
yeah, there you go. Hey, what's the number one rule in HazMat is, if you don't know who to call. And the second rule is, you might just have to MacGyver that stuff. We're plumbers. We're all kinds of different backgrounds, depending on what the need is. So,
well, HazMat is slow and methodical.
Yep.
But you don't want to get into the problem of, I call, paralyzation by analyzation.
Yeah, it was funny you say that, because I was just talking to some guys in the class we were teaching. I said, listen, I hate the term pump the brakes, because when you pump the brakes, it's not a pump, it's a full stop. I said, we just want to tap the brakes. That kind of slow our roll a little bit. I said, I think that works out a little bit better. But real quickly before we wrap it up, what do you think some of the lessons learned uh, for you guys for this run?
Well, there were some mistakes made, and nobody's perfect. And this is something that was cutting edge. We haven't done this, and hopefully it opens up, some knowledge to the guys. That's why I'm here, just talking about it. If you guys get a run like this, you can consider other avenues. Call Chemtrek. They were very helpful in letting us know. Call the manufacturer of where the material came from. Very helpful as well. Always use your 3 resources. And research, because your guys' lives are in your hands.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the like I said just a few minutes ago, number one rule is if you don't know who to call, and the manufacturer. I mean, the people that make the stuff. Um, yeah, those are the first go tos.
Thankfully, we have an excellent, very supportive department. Our HazMat bureau is one of the best,
Yeah,
and they give us all the tools necessary. And this would have gone a little bit different, maybe, in a smaller department, or somebody that didn't have the training or the knowledge base or the equipment. We have some people critique, oh, why would you sacrifice an A kit, to I think we got 6 of them.
Yeah.
It's I'd rather lose one and make sure no one gets hurt, in this transport back. They had to get a special DOT convoy to send this bottle back to where it came from,
Wow.
because the possibility of leakage.
So there was still a little product left in there.
There was still a lot of product in there, actually. And that's the one thing we always deal with the product as if the vessel is full.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Well, hey, Alex, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate
Thank you so much for your
coming
help.
in. No, bro, it's anytime, and that's what everybody's
The
here for.
HazMat community
Yep,
is tight,
absolutely,
really tight.
absolutely.
I'm proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's you and me both. You and me both. Just to wrap up real quickly, I want to thank our sponsors, the HazMat Guys podcast. Check out Bobby and Mike to get the latest info on pretty much anything in hazmat. I think they've got 300 plus episodes. Check out their training book, National Emergency Response Hazmat Drills or NERD, at thehazmatguys.com. Also, our good friend Ron Huffman, Responder Training. Ron has over 35 years in the fire service industry, an extensive background in propane emergencies. He has also developed a 1-inch flare kit nicknamed the Dragon Slayer, and is available to conduct training for propane emergencies to include water injection. You can reach out at Ron at respondertraining.rdh@gmail.com. Again, I'm your host, Bob Koshik-Nano, and real quickly, just to check out some websites for you guys. As I mentioned, Bobby and Mike, the HazMat Guys, and the HazMat Guys Roundtable, first Tuesday of every month, 9 p.m. Eastern, live. You can chime in, ask us questions, or even make fun of us if you like. But we talk about different incidents. Bobby, Mike, myself, and Jeff Zintek, retired hazmat captain from Phoenix. And Hazmat Group 2, Hazmatter Group, and Common Sense Hazmat on Facebook. Great sites. Again, thank you, Alex, so much. And everybody have a great, safe rest of your day.